You ever feel your stomach start to rumble just by looking at a picture of food? Or, that jolt of anxiety you get the second you hear that one notification sound on your phone? Yeah, those aren't just random feelings. They're actually learned, totally automatic reactions. And today, we're going to figure out exactly how they get wired into our brains. So let's just dive right into it. The big question is one we've all experienced. Why does this stuff happen? Why does our body react so powerfully to something that isn't even really there? Like just a picture of a burger or the sound of a text message. What's going on? I mean, just look at these two scenarios. On one side, just seeing an ad triggers a real physical hunger response. And on the other, a simple little notification sound can set off this wave of anxiety even before we know what the message is about. These reactions feel instant, almost like a reflex. And, well, there's a really good reason for that. To find the answer to this super modern mystery, we actually have to go back over a century ago into a laboratory with a scientist who wasn't even trying to study psychology. Nope, he was studying digestion in dogs. And this is our guy, Ivan Pavlov. He was a Russian physiologist who started noticing something kind of weird. He saw that his dogs would start salivating not just when they got their food, but even when they just saw the lab assistant who brought them the food. He knew something really profound was happening here, so he set up an experiment to figure it all out. So to really get what Pavlov discovered, we first have to look at the starting point. We need to understand a very simple, very natural reflex that needs zero learning whatsoever. It all starts here. You show a dog some food and the dog salivates. Simple, right? It's totally automatic. The food is what we call an unconditioned stimulus. Now, the unconditioned part just means it's unlearned. And the salivation, that's the unconditioned response. It's just a natural, built-in reaction. Right, so the main thing to get here is this. An unconditioned response is basically a reflex. You don't have to teach a dog to drool for food, just like you don't have to teach yourself to snatch your hand away from a hot stove. It just happens. Okay, now let's add something else to the mix, a bell. If you just ring a bell, what does the dog do? Well, as you can see, pretty much nothing. It might perk its ears up, sure, but it definitely doesn't start salivating. For the dog, the bell is a neutral stimulus. It doesn't mean anything yet. And now for part 2. This is where Pavlov's genius really shines. He's about to take that meaningless bell and build a powerful new connection right inside the dog's brain. He's going to create an association. And the process itself was incredibly simple. First, Pavlov would ring the bell, that's our neutral stimulus. Then right after, he would present the food, the unconditioned stimulus. And of course, the dog salivates. But the absolute key, the most important part of this whole thing is that last step. He did this again and again and again. This slide shows you exactly how that pairing works. Bell, then food. Bell, then food. And with every single one of those repetitions, the dog's brain started to build this little bridge, connecting the sound of that bell directly to the expectation of getting some food. So after all that repetition, what do you think happens next? This is the big aha moment, the breakthrough that completely changed how we understand learning forever. Pavlov tried ringing the bell, but this time, he didn't bring out any food. And what happened? The dog salivated anyway. That neutral bell wasn't neutral anymore. It had become a conditioned stimulus, a learned trigger. And the salivation was now a conditioned response, a learned reaction to a sound that used to mean nothing. So here's the whole shebang broken down into a nice, simple formula. We start with a natural reflex. The unconditioned stimulus leads to the unconditioned response. Then you pair a neutral stimulus with it over and over, and boom. After enough repetition, that thing that used to be neutral becomes a conditioned stimulus, and it triggers a conditioned response all by itself. It's a simple but incredibly powerful formula for learning. All right, so this is all really fascinating stuff about dogs, but what's this got to do with us? Well, it turns out this exact same process is running in the background of our own lives, like every single day. So let's bring it all the way back around. Remember that food ad? Think about it. Over your lifetime, you've seen countless images of delicious food right before you ate it. So the image, that's the conditioned stimulus, it becomes so strongly associated with actual food that it can trigger a real hunger response, the conditioned response, all on its own. And what about that phone notification? Man, If you've repeatedly gotten stressful work emails or bad news that were announced by that one specific sound, your brain learns that association. The sound itself becomes a conditioned stimulus that triggers a feeling of anxiety, that's the conditioned response, before you even glance at the message. Just look at this comparison for a second. On the left, you've got a dog drooling to a bell. On the right, a person feeling anxious from a sound. I mean, they look worlds apart, right? But the psychological engine running underneath, this simple, powerful form of learning, is exactly the same. So what Pavlov really stumbled upon is this fundamental process called learning by association. Our brains are constantly, and a lot of the time unconsciously, linking things together that happen close in time. It's actually a powerful survival mechanism, and it shapes so much of our emotional and even our physical day-to-day experience. And all this leaves us with a final question to chew on. Now that you know how this works, what other learned associations might be running your life? You know, the smell that makes you happy, the song that makes you kind of sad, that one place that makes you feel nervous? What unconscious connections are out there shaping you?